Story 1. I smoked meth for 4 months straight and stayed up for half that time. Now I'm 4 years sober and have kept my life together by speaking out against my past behavior. My wife left me because I didn't want kids, and my children were taken away, which destroyed any respect I had from others. Now their mother has full custody, but they live with me in a drug-free, healthy, and happy home, despite the trauma they experience from their mother not wanting to be around. We are making progress, and we are committed to the kids. Story 2. Warframe is a video game that may sound strange to non-gamers and even fans of the game, but it became a full-time job for me as a completionist. Even when I wasn't in the mood to play or wanted to try something else, I would still log in and grind. I have over 6,500 hours in the game before quitting. There was always a better Kuva weapon roll, a new build I hadn't tried, or some arbitrary material that I only had 2 million of instead of 10 million. I quit almost 3 years ago, and I have never felt tempted to log in since. Story 3. Meth is harmful. I am a few months away from being 3 years clean. It is enjoyable but ultimately destructive. Run far away if someone offers you a meth pipe. Story 4. I was taking 100 milligrams of Percocet a day and then became addicted to Suboxone. I was also addicted to marijuana the whole time, but today I am free of all of it. Story 5. My mom made me start a diet at 9 because she didn't want to diet alone, which led to a serious eating disorder for me. I constantly craved food. I can confidently say today that I am no longer addicted to food. I still enjoy some foods because I love them, but I'm not addicted and no longer feel the need to eat due to my emotions or boredom. Story 6. I smoked a lot of tar during the Vietnam War. The product was delivered by a kid on a bike from a local bar. It was about 3/4 the size of a stick of butter for $5. I would pinch off a pea-sized chunk and smoke it off a ration can lid, or use my actual tobacco pipe. We could also make pipes out of .50 caliber spent cases. When I came home, it took me about 2 weeks to overcome the physical issues, but I craved it for about 4 to 6 months. Story 7. Alcohol. My God, how I thought I had everyone fooled, except I was only fooling myself. I am 5 days away from running my first 5K race this Thursday. Story 8. Porn addiction. 1 year free from pornography and living my best life. Either I hook up with someone when I'm feeling aroused or I use my imagination. No more pornography. Story 9. I wasn't using nicotine vapes but cannabis ones. I was forced to quit because one day I couldn't afford a new one. After a few weeks, I still couldn't afford it. Now I don't even crave them. It's easy, I guess, luckily for me. Story 10. Caffeine. I used to get a bad headache whenever I didn't have some kind of caffeinated drink in the morning. Working early mornings too, I would feel great with a cup of coffee each weekday, but then feel poorly if I didn't have any on the weekends. This year, I committed to reducing my caffeine intake by waiting to have my first drink and then alternating between decaffeinated and regular coffee or Earl Grey tea. Eventually, my weekends improved, and I can even go days without caffeine. The best part is it now takes less coffee or Earl Grey tea to achieve the same energy. Story 11. I have been sober for 1.5 years. I started drinking when I was 15 and became sober at 39 after an emergency room doctor told me I had 6 days to live if I continued. Alcohol completely ruined my life. I never had self-esteem, lost the love of my life, and I don't have anything to show for my time on this earth. Story 12. Everyone has real issues, but I came here to mention Facebook. I used to spend hours a day on it and post frequently. Now, I check it from my computer for a few minutes every couple of weeks. It's amazing how much time I've saved. Story 13. I had a habit that cost over $100 a day in the late 1980s from using crack, meth, and cocaine. I quit everything cold turkey and have been sober for over 30 years. It was simple: quit or face dire consequences. Story 14. Tobacco. Cigarettes were incredibly difficult for me to quit after decades of smoking. I am now free of them for many years. Story 15. I had a serious pornography addiction when I was younger. I grew up when the internet was relatively new, and I had my own computer. Tip for parents: do not allow your child to have their own computer. Can negatively influence their thoughts. Story 16. Nicotine was incredibly challenging to quit. I will never forget the first 3 weeks. I still crave a cigarette every single day, and it has been almost 3 years. Story 17. Well, I don't know if you can ever really be considered free from any addiction. For me, it is alcohol and sex addiction. Story 18. Alcohol and various drugs were my downfall, but I have been sober since May 4th, 2006, and I just realized I completely forgot about it yesterday. What a great feeling. Story 19. I have kept only a select few forms of social media that are easier to curate or do not rely on force-feeding content. I have been genuinely happier. Story 20. Chewing tobacco was quite addictive for about 5 years. I noticed my gums beginning to feel the effects, which frightened me into quitting. Story 21. I was diagnosed with opioids of increasing strength at 18 for a chronic illness. Eventually, I ended up on fentanyl before my doctor left for Alaska permanently with 2 days' notice. After the nurse practitioner stopped prescribing them 2 months later, I was left with one massive bottle of Percocet and weaned myself off, starting at 5 a day and decreasing every week or every other week by half a pill. Thinking back on it, I can't believe I did it at that age and didn't become a casualty of the opioid crisis. Story 22. Nicotine. I smoked for 18 years and finally quit after my mom died of lung cancer. I wish I had never started, and quitting was the hardest thing I ever did. But I did it. Story 23. I used to use cannabis every night for relaxation and sleep. I feel much better without it, and I am addressing the root cause of my anxiety issues instead of just numbing myself every night. Story 24. Free from heroin and cocaine, my addiction is cigarettes, and I feel like it is actively killing me. Story 25. Gambling in actual casinos. I still play fantasy football and daily fantasy on DraftKings, but I limit myself to $100 a year. Fun fact. I banned myself from the closest casino, which is an hour away, for life by signing papers. Story 26. Tobacco is insidious how it hooks you. That just one more mindset keeps you trapped. It's detrimental. Everyone around you thinks you smell unpleasant, even if they don't say so. You become oblivious to it and don't understand how strong it smells to non-smokers. Causes people to avoid you and can even make some feel unwell. The tar damages your nails, hair, and teeth, and it takes a long time to eliminate when you quit. To anyone reading this, just stop before it's too late. By any means necessary. I quit cold turkey and never looked back. Story 27. Masturbation helped me cope with my difficult life. While I have not completely eliminated the habit, I am significantly better than before. I typically engaged in this behavior around 8 times a day, but I eventually stopped after 3 sessions when I felt pain to the point that I could not experience pleasure. This continued almost every day for nearly a year. Story 28. I went on a binge for 9 months because I wanted to keep up with my ex-boyfriend. I stopped abruptly. It has been a year and a half since then. Story 29. It may seem humorous, but Destiny 2 has consumed my weeks with its demanding time requirements, leaving me no opportunity to play other games. Now I finally have time to catch up. Story 30. Actually, upon reflection, I am not free from this addiction. I just began thinking of myself as such when discontinuation issues finally subsided. For years, I thought about the substances every few minutes. Eventually, I transitioned to the blessing of forgetting they exist for long periods, thinking about them unprompted only every few months or years. Even so, I've experienced troubling cravings through nearly half a lifetime without any. I'm proud, though, that I have not consumed any since I quit, that I've laughed out loud whenever anyone has offered to prescribe or share any since then, and that I have not consumed any similar substances in many years. Story 31. Gambling took over my life for 5 years and ruined every friendship I ever had. I am so happy and grateful to know that I will never do it again. Story 32. Sugar. I'm not sure that I'm actually free of my addiction. If a box of Krispy Kreme donuts is in front of me, it would be gone in no time. I just can't keep sweet things in the house. For my husband, I buy flavors I can't stand, like coffee, chocolate chip, cherry, and strawberry. Story 33. Gambling. I was a skilled poker player in high school. It started to get out of hand, and I quickly realized that the mindset of just one more game was a bad idea. Story 34. Alcohol was destroying my life and the lives of those who truly care for and love me. It was the most selfish thing I could do, and I didn't realize what I had become. I will have 2 years of sobriety in July, and I couldn't be more proud. I have never felt healthier or happier. My loved ones are relieved and can breathe a little easier now. All you have to do is make the choice. Make the decision and commit fully. Just say, I'm done, and mean it. Story 35. Soda, 10 years without it. I stopped because of the sugar. I saw significant health benefits in the first year without it. Story 36. I took 7 years to truly quit smoking. I feel like my life is mine again. I thank the universe every day. Story 37. I am an addict who has overcome most substances except alcohol. However, I am glad I never got into gambling. Even the thought of constantly taking risks on free loot boxes in games terrifies me. Story 38. Cigarettes and social media. Although I do use Reddit, I do not have Facebook or any other similar platform, and I have maintained this preference for years. Story 39. Arguing with people on gossip sites like TMZ wasted more time than I care to admit in the 2010s. Story 40. I have tried at least 10 different types of drugs and never really liked any of them enough to try a second time. My only addictions are coffee and sex. Story 41. Drinking. I used to be a very bad alcoholic because I used it to cover my traumas. In fact, the only reason I met my husband was that I was drunk and decided to invite him over for a hookup. The way he cared about me from the moment he came over made it easier to start caring about myself more. I felt cared for in a way I hadn't before, and being honest with him made it easier to be honest about what I needed for myself. We ended up talking the whole night, and he stayed for at least a week, having asked me out by day 2. No one had ever really been interested enough to get to know me like that. It was the first time I thought, oh, maybe someone cares. And if I continued like I was, that might actually hurt him. During our time together, I have had a healthy relationship with drinking. I have occasionally had a beer or a shot with him, but I don't feel compelled to get excessively drunk. He loves the person I am when I'm sober, and that person loves him. It has been easy to remember that he is so much more important than a bottle of vodka. That's not to say it's always easy. There have been a few times when I've been stressed and wanted to drink heavily, but thankfully, with him, I can be honest. I can tell him I'm having those thoughts and why, and it makes them feel less heavy and important. He also isn't afraid to call me out if he feels I need to be reeled in, even if it's just me asking if we can drink and he thinks it's excessive. Sometimes I don't want to hear it, but it's always from a place of care and concern. That bluntness is warranted because it's scary to think of me relapsing for both of us. Me hating to hear it is actually good. It reminds me that I'm scared to lose him now, and that it's not just my life anymore that's affected. It reminds me of all the reasons I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to isolate and push people away anymore. I was never close with my family, but his family has made an effort with me. They treat me like I've always belonged, and I appreciate having a family dynamic. I also have a healthier relationship with my best friend, who has always had my back. I can finally see how much he's been the only family I've had before now, and he's always done what he can to support me. He has done more for me than I could have ever asked, and finally being someone he's proud of means a lot. He and my husband get along great. My husband accepts him as a non-blood relative, which is amazing because most guys don't like me being that close with my male best friend. I think this is what I've wanted all along, a family that actually cares. I met my husband because of drinking, but in the end, he gave me something I wanted and needed even more than that, and it's been easy to choose him every time. The thought of losing him, especially over something trivial like drinking, scares me in a new way. To summarize, alcohol used to rule my life because of trauma. Now I'm able to control myself because I'm in a safe environment with someone who keeps me grounded. Someone who listens to my struggles without judgment and is willing to work with me on them. I know I can say no and have the option of expressing cravings, and I know he will call me out and discuss any red flags he notices. The honesty makes it easier to maintain control because I know someone else is affected by my choices now, and I love him too much to be unfair. I know if I relapse, he will do what is needed to support my recovery, but for the first time, there is no part of me that wants to relapse because it's not worth it to hurt him and the new life and family we are building together. For the first time, I'm scared of the idea of a relapse and how it would affect my life now, something the old me would have never cared about. But I'm proud to have built a life where I'm happy and loved, enough to have things I'm afraid to lose. While fear can be overwhelming, it's a good reminder that I'm not alone. Even during times when I have had slight cravings, it feels worth the fight to keep building our life together. Story 42. Rust offers an adrenaline rush like no other. For those unfamiliar with gaming, it may sound unusual, but the intensity of this game is unmatched. I've tried various stimulants, yet nothing compares to the thrill of playing Rust. It's the only game that truly activates your fight or flight response. I logged over 5,000 hours, equivalent to more than half a year in real time, and I often slept with my headphones on, ready for any potential raids on my base. I'm relieved to be done with it. My life was quite unhappy during that time. Story 43. I wouldn't say I was addicted, but I quit using marijuana for the fourth time. A bad hit, essentially butane, while clearing a bong at a friend's house was the final straw for me. It led to the most instant nausea I have ever experienced. That was in January. I sold all my belongings. I was clean for 2 years before my last relationship. Money saved is money invested in cryptocurrency and, well, living. Story 44. I was prescribed Xanax for over 10 years. I have been completely off them for 3 years now. I just need to address my problem with alcohol, as I tend to drink a bit too much after work some days. That's my last vice. Story 45. Nothing compares to the others here but chewing tobacco. It was destroying my teeth in my late teens and early 20s. Story 46. I am 6 years alcohol-free this September after being a functional alcoholic for 15 years. There were nights when I would drink myself to sleep, literally hoping I wouldn't wake up the next day. Achieving 6 years sober seemed unthinkable and has changed my life. Story 47. No Instagram, no Facebook, no TikTok, and I deleted WhatsApp yesterday due to excessive integration with Instagram and Facebook. I feel free and proud. Oh, no Snapchat either. Story 48. Sugar. I thought I was naturally chubby, then I believed I had a binge eating disorder. When I finally realized it was a sugar addiction and quit, I lost 25 pounds in 2 months. My mood issues disappeared, and I no longer feel tired after meals. Story 49. Alcohol took over my life for a long time and was the reason I fell behind. I have been sober for 8 years now. More recently, I was consuming energy drinks. I have stopped buying them altogether and started drinking beverages with natural caffeine if I need a boost. Story 50. Cigarettes, marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine. I never drank too much, but I am not doing that either. I have been drug-free for 7 years and aim to be vape-free within a year. Story 51. I still drink too much, but I accidentally stopped smoking cannabis this year, and I'm honestly so glad. Story 52. Benzodiazepines and cocaine nearly ruined my life for short-term fun I couldn't even remember. Please, anyone reading this, never self-medicate with stimulants or depressants. You likely have a real medical issue that can be addressed with proper medication. My college years were spent self-medicating against genuine mental health issues for which I needed real medication and treatment. Cocaine and benzodiazepines only make you paranoid and broke. Story 53. I now only drink once every few months and limit myself to a few drinks as a social activity. Story 54. I was a slave to sugar. I would wake up and the first thing I thought about was where I could get an energy drink. I consumed multiple cans a day, along with sweets. I still have a zero-sugar energy drink, but I'm going to try switching to coffee. The trouble is I dislike coffee. Story 55. Nitrous oxide, also known as whippets, hippie crack, or laughing gas, consumed me for a couple of years. I spent $20,000 of my savings on a $300 per day habit, using it first thing in the morning, continuously throughout the day, and as the last thing at night. Now, coming up on 4 years clean, I often reflect on how irresponsible I was and beat myself up for my past. However, I count my blessings that I was able to stop when I did. After many relapses, what finally made me stop was making the most difficult phone call I ever had to make. I called my mother and told her that I was struggling with addiction. I was ready to check myself into rehabilitation, but there is no medical remedy to help you stop using nitrous oxide like there is for other hard drugs or alcohol. I also wasn't keen on sitting in a circle to discuss my feelings with strangers. Disappointing my mother with such terrible news was enough motivation for me to turn my life around. I have tried various substances, but nothing affected me like this one. My girlfriend was incredibly supportive and understanding throughout my struggle. She was there for me every step of the way. I feel blessed to have her in my life, as well as my supportive mother, who comforted and reassured me that she loves me unconditionally. If you are ever struggling with addiction, reach out to those who love you. It may not be easy, but it will guide you in the right direction, and the momentary pain is well worth the bright future that awaits you once you take that first step. Story 56. Opiates are primarily used to manage chronic and severe pain. Recent surgery has mostly resolved the issues, but some days I still experience significant soreness and need to continue moving forward. Story 57. 10 years of alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana. I have been entirely sober for 4 years and feel mentally healthier than ever. I am 34 years old. Story 58. I had many bad habits in my early 20s, including using marijuana, gambling, and consuming alcohol. I eliminated them all, and life is now so much better. Story 59. My screen time on TikTok was 13 hours a day. I deleted the app a year and 7 months ago, and now I have hobbies that fulfill my life. Story 60. Quit alcohol, methamphetamine, cigarettes, MDMA, and ketamine. The occasional edible and annual mushroom trip still exists. Story 61. News. For years, I watched it regularly. I haven't watched a news network in 5 to 6 years. It's better to do your own research, and you will find out the world is not ending in the next 2 weeks. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.